Hi, I'm Joey Lott, and this is another video in the series that I call Ask Consciousness Anything. And the question for this video is right over there, so I'm going to read it. It says, the one problem I get is I feel like a lot of teachers seem to be asking to find awareness as something separate from experiencing. I can find no separation between the two. And then there's more, but I'm going to comment on this first. I'm not sure who's asking you to find awareness as something separate from experiencing. It actually suggests here that I do, but that's not true. I don't ask you to find awareness as something separate from experiencing. What I actually do is ask you just to take a look at your own experience and to trust in your own experience, to trust in the perfection of your experience, and to really be willing just to ride that edge. And you can see that most of our lives, for most of us, is actually a giant energy drain, trying desperately and futilely to avoid that edge, the edge of reality, the edge of life, where life is actually happening, where we are, where life is. And we do that by turning to mind and trying to strategize and plan and escape and figure it out and get it right, and all of these various strategies that we have. But none of those satisfy us. In fact, most of us perceive ourselves to be suffering. So I'm definitely not proposing that you look for separation, although looking for separation can be an interesting exercise in inquiry as well, because it can reveal, as it has revealed to you, that there is no separation when you look for it. But we can assume separation if we're just believing the mind. So the actual question here, it says, however, I can pause and ask myself, what is this? And that seems to dissolve problems. Is this okay? And the answer is yes, it's okay. But I'll ask you a question, which is that satisfying to you? And I cannot know the answer to that. It's a genuine question. If it is satisfying to you, if you are fulfilled, then there's no need to even ask if it's okay. But if you are feeling dissatisfied or unfulfilled, then you can take a look and see that actually, because it's kind of revealed in the way that the question is phrased, although I'm not a mind reader, so I don't know what you actually intend, but just based on the way that this is phrased, it says, and that seems to dissolve problems. So great. But is that satisfying? Because if the dissolution of problems is what you're looking for, then this will satisfy you. But for most of us, the dissolution of problems is not enough. Most of us think that that's what we're looking for. We think that we're just trying to get rid of problems. But as anybody who's ever actually gotten rid of problems or solved problems temporarily will tell you, that's not the same as actually being fulfilled or satisfied. In fact, many times that leaves us feeling like there's a vacuum, and now we have this new problem, the new problem of not having problems. So rather than looking just to get rid of problems, I'm proposing that we can actually live. We can really choose our lives. We can live this moment. We can live our lives now. We can be truly alive, which doesn't require any effort. We are alive. We are here now. But it's by being willing to relinquish the effort, to get somewhere else, to become someone else, to become acceptable, to become enough. When we're willing to abandon that and really just be here now, but really, truly, just to be here now, not separate from now, not as the one who can recognize the problems or solve the problems, not as the one who can strategize for a better future, but to actually, truly just be as we are, vulnerable. Really, honestly, like all of it laid out on the table. Just admitting to ourselves, finally, our own fears, our own insecurities, not as a laundry list that we're going to solve in the future, but just as they appear, to no longer be trying to fix them or look past them or dress them up or project something, but to actually just see it all, to see it with a tenderness, like a little child who in its innocence is just being itself. And we can start to tell the truth, which is that that's who we are. We are that innocence. We are already ourselves. And it's only when we pretend like we're not ourselves, that there's something wrong with us, that there's something shameful that needs to be hidden, and that that's not who we are. The shameful, unpleasant, scary, disappointing aspects. We want to pretend like that's not us, and that in the future there will be some better, perfect manifestation of ourselves. That's how we betray ourselves. So if we want real freedom, that real freedom is just to be ourselves. And we can be ourselves just by being. We don't need to become ourselves. We don't need to be a better version of ourselves. We can actually just be ourselves, because guess what? We already are. And nobody else was being fooled anyway. Only you were fooling yourself. So the real invitation that I'm inviting you to is actually just to lay it all down, all the strategies, all the armor, all the ways that you deceive yourself, all the ways that you try, all the effort that you make, and actually just to be totally vulnerable, to be exposed to yourself, first and foremost. And that's where real freedom is found. That's when the search ends. When you really are willing to set down all of the armor and all the strategies, then you have the direct experience that you, as you are, not as you think you should be, not as others have told you need to be, but as you actually are, all of it. The parts that you consider ugly, the parts that you consider unacceptable, the parts you consider shameful, all of it. When you fully receive all of that effortlessly, just by being, then you have the direct experience that, hey, presto, life is still happening, right? Because that's what we always feared, was that somehow it would all come to an end. There would just be, or there would be great torture, endless torture, if we were exposed, if we finally just allowed ourselves to be as we are. But when we have the direct experience, particularly repeatedly, of being exposed, of being vulnerable, of just being ourselves, all of it, not as a strategy of, hey, I'm going to be me, not to show others, a very gentle, intimate thing, just for ourselves, to be ourselves. That's when we can't betray ourselves any longer, because we know beyond a doubt that all of the fears about what would happen if we were just for a moment to be ourselves, it's all exposed. And we know through direct experience, life continues, that it's actually okay to be ourselves. Not always comfortable, but it's okay to be yourself. And you don't need to work to be yourself. You don't need to push to be yourself. You don't need to show others how much of yourself you are, because that's just more of the same trip. But to just be willing, silently, quietly, in secret even, so that you don't need to show anybody else, but to be willing just to be yourself for yourself, that's enough. And then let the rest of it unfold as it does. But that's the starting point. That's the foundation, is to really trust through direct experience that it's okay just to be as you are. It's really that simple. And all of the rest of it, anything else that I could ever say, is really just aimed at that, the direct experience of yourself, period. Hope this has been helpful. As always, if you have a question, you can go to joeylott.com/ask. And if you're interested in my current events, you can go to joeylott.com/now. So that's JOEYLOTT.com/now. All right. Bye for now.